Okay, this is Dr. Thompson, and welcome to week 6 t-test homework. I'm going to be running through the homework. I have the data set open, and this has 3 variables. 1 is the participant ID, 2 is the time on the phone, and 3 is whether or not training occurred. And I'm going to go to variable view, and I can see that actually it tells me right here 0 training, no training, and that's in the label. That's in the wrong spot, so I'm going to add it here. Value 0, no training. Value 1, training. Okay, and I'm going to change this, the label, to training. Okay, that's set up properly. This is, I'm going to change to time. Training is really a nominal variable, and time on the phone is a scale variable. So, given this scenario and what we talked about in class, we know that we're comparing the group that had training to the group that did not have training, and therefore this is an independent sample t-test. So I'm going to go Analyze, Compare Means, Independent Sample t-test, and my grouping variable is training, and we just know we just labeled it, so we know that group 1 is 0 and group 2 is 1. And we know the test variable, which is the dependent variable, is time. I'm going to hit OK. Make this a bit bigger. Okay, so we've got this N is showing us how many in each group, and they're equal. Hold on 1 second. So we've got 2 different means. One mean is 4, one mean is 11. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so the first thing that we're going to check is Levene's test for equality of a variance. And this tells us, this box right here, tells us if our standard deviations are equivalent or not. If they're not equivalent, we've a violated assumption, and we need to read this line right here. If it's not significant, we've not violated the assumption, and we read this line right here. And this is our p-value on our F, and it tells us that the p-value is 0.07, which is above 0.05, which means it is not significant. This is good news. We've not violated our assumption, and we're going to read this line right here. Okay, so to write this up, our t-value, remember, we do not use negative t-values. You'll get counted off for that. This would just be 6.48. Our degrees of freedom is 24. Our p-value on the t, which is the significant two-tailed, is less than 0.001. And our confidence interval is from 4.35 to 8.42. And so how I'm going to write this up. We conducted an independent sample t-test that examined whether training customer service agents increased their time on the phone with customers. The independent variable was training, whether they attended, you could also say whether they attended training or not. The dependent variable was the amount of time the employee spent on the phone with the customer. So here I'm going to say there was a significant difference between employees who had been trained and those who had not been trained. Comma, I'm going to do it italicized T, the degrees of freedom, which we said was 24, and then it's 648. And notice I do not have a negative T value. Now I'm going to italicize my P is less than 0.001. And I'm getting that from right here. Now I'm going to move this over because I need to see my mean and my standard deviation. So now I need to say, well, what does this significant difference mean? Which direction was it in? And so I'm going to say employees who received training had significant higher times on the phone with a customer. Italicize M, capital M. 11.08, italicized standard deviation. 3.15, then employees who had not received training. Now, I'm just going to copy and paste this mean and standard deviation. And then I'm just going to replace it. So it's 4.69. My standard deviation is 1.65. Okay. And then for my recommendations, I'm going to say, if we were to conduct this training in the future, we could be 95% confident that we would see increased time on the phone with customers from, I need to move this over, from, and now I'm going to switch these because they're negative and they're in the wrong order. So I'm just going to say 4.35 to 8.42 minutes. This would be doubling the time on the phone at a minimum. And then you can make a statement about you would recommend it. This training looks highly profitable. This confidence interval tells us that those without training spend 4 minutes on the phone, and if we were to give training, they would spend 8 to 12, it looks like about 13 minutes more on the phone. So this is a training we definitely want to do. The confidence interval is telling us in the future this is good. And that's about it. So next week we'll learn about how to do the effect size and to do the table and graph. But for now, that is all on t-test. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or your instructor. And I hope you have a good weekend. Thanks.